Hi. So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about schools. Um, I was a teacher, a science teacher, early adolescent, so that's middle and high school science teacher, starting in 2016, um, when I started working as a full-time science teacher during the last semester of my teacher education program. I was working under an emergency license since I didn't have my license yet. And for those of you who don't know, that's because there are so many missing teacher spots throughout the United States. I was in Wisconsin at the time. Um, they'll take people who are still working on their license or people who just have a bachelor's degree in whatever. And so anyways, 2016, I started teaching. I got my teaching license in the spring semester of 2017. I went on to teach a year middle school after that, and then I taught a year of high school after that. And science teacher. My bachelor's degree is in cell and molecular biology. Um, and yeah, I quit teaching after that year because I was working like 60 hours a week and I was only making $40,000 a year. So I calculated my wage and it was like a little more than 20 bucks an hour, and I was like, nah. So that's when I quit to join the Carpenters Union, which is a whole different thing. But today I want to talk about schools. So after I was in the Carpenters Union for 2 years, I actually tried again. I came back to be a teacher again, and I taught high school physics for a semester, and then the following year I taught high school geometry for a semester before quitting again. And that was about a year ago in January of 2023. So what I want to say about schools, actually, I kept teaching. I kept teaching as a substitute teacher. I was like doing substitute teaching and some like construction remodeling, and that's kind of what I've been doing for the past year, is like a mixture of those things. What was really cool about substitute teaching was I got to go to all these different middle high schools, even elementary schools. I substitute taught kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, so everywhere in there. Mostly middle and high school, mostly high school. And so it gave me a really good insight into like what's going on in all of the schools. That was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I have to say that I don't think I will go back to being a classroom teacher. And I'm not super excited to be a substitute, although I like it much more than being a teacher. And the reason that I won't go back to being a teacher is because we have a system that I call non-consensual education. So we're attempting to like grow these little humans into like amazing, powerful adult humans who are able to take care of themselves and offer something to their communities, right? And the process to do that, it has to do with learning different skills and character development and different facts and knowledge, right? And so we have all these different subjects that we've decided kids should learn. And we attempt to force them to learn it, right? It's not working, because a lot of times kids don't want to learn, and then we just pass them on to the next grade, even if they didn't learn. And then we try and teach them even higher level things, even though they didn't learn the lower level things. So then like their accessibility to the higher level stuff is like sort of blocked by the fact that they didn't learn the stuff that came before. So then they don't end up learning, and they just like, yeah. So there's a reason why the average reading level in the United States is fifth grade reading level. And part of that is because of a failing school system. Part of that is because of a former slave population that it was illegal for them to read. And even after slavery ended, a lot of racist, powerful white people in the United States continued and still continue to try and hold back the Black community. And it's also because we have a large immigrant population that speak all types of different languages, refugees from different wars and things around the world that come here and don't speak English, as well as a lot of immigration coming from South America and a lot of Spanish speakers. So there's multiple reasons why we have difficulties in our school system. But what I want to talk about today is the problem that I call non-consensual education. And so forcing kids to learn when they're little works pretty well. It's pretty easy to control children, and children look up to adults, and they sort of just they don't have a lot of power, so it's easy to force them, right? But when a human's prefrontal cortex comes online and they start developing critical thought, and they start criticizing the culture, and they start criticizing the adults, and they start questioning things, right? Also, they've grown bigger, right? So they're feeling more physically powerful. They're also very concerned with social status, sexual status, sexual desirability, and reproduction. And that's a huge distraction. And they're very concerned about what's cool. But most importantly, they're critical thinking, because prefrontal cortex has come online, and they're questioning everything. And they don't want to just accept that these adults who came before them know what's best for their future. And I think they're right. I mean, I think adults have a lot to offer, but I don't think we necessarily know what's best for the kids. And in any case, it doesn't matter if we do or don't, because if the kids don't think that we do, then they don't necessarily want to learn from us. So what happens is you end up having maybe half to 75% of your class is on board with the education system. They've questioned it, but their parents have talked to them and they've decided, yeah, okay, let's try school, right? But you've got 25 to maybe 35, maybe even 50% of your class that isn't on board with this school thing. They maybe know people who went to college and don't have good paying jobs, but just have a bunch of school debt. They might know people who didn't do well in school, didn't go to college, and are making lots of money successfully running businesses or working in the trades. So already they're angry because they're like, why are you forcing me to do this stuff, to follow this one narrow path of success called academics in college, when I know that that's not necessarily always successful for everyone, and that there's actually a wide variety of different pathways for success. And so they don't really care about their grade. They don't really care about graduating. And they're not wrong to not care, because there are many ways to success, and academics only measures a pretty narrow set of skills. So what they do is they don't do the work, they don't learn, they're not interested in learning. You try to force them, they just get more angry. You try to convince them, may or may not work. In a lot of cases, it doesn't work. The convincing doesn't work. And so you have kids that aren't learning, and they're not interested in your lesson, and they don't want to be there. They might not even like you as a person, right? Yet, if they don't go to class, if they skip school, their parents are going to receive a ticket from the local government for excessive truancy. which means that the parent, I think, has to pay, in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, I think it's an $800 ticket. I'm not sure how many times you have to be absent, but if you're absent enough, your parents get an $800 ticket. And that's where the coercion comes in. That's where the non-consent and the force comes in. See, as teachers, as a part of the school system, we are an arm of the government. And the government is trying to force kids to go to school with these truancy tickets, right? So now you've forced kids to be in a learning environment that they don't want to be in, or you've coerced them anyways. I mean, if the families are poor, they can't afford that ticket, and their wages could get garnished. So it's like they kind of have to send their kids to school. And then you've got this kid in a classroom, doesn't want to be there. He's angry because now he's forced to be there even though he doesn't want to be there. He might not even like you as a person, doesn't believe in the learning process that's going on. And you're trying to teach the other kids. But this 25 to 50% of your class just starts tearing it up because they're bored and they're angry. So they ruin your learning environment. And now the kids, the 50% to 75% of the kids that you had that wanted to learn, now they're not learning anything. They're cracking up at his jokes, or they're frustrated because you're spending all your time trying to deal with the misbehavior instead of teaching them, right? Non-consensual education does not work once the prefrontal cortex has come online. So for our middle and especially high school students, we need to transition to school of choice. What should be happening is the teenage student, the high school student, should be coming into the school building, and the school system should be asking them, what do you want to learn? And whatever it is that that kid wants to learn, that's what we should be teaching them. Because they've already got basic math and English by the time they got through middle school, right? Let's not crush their desire to learn by forcing them into classrooms with teachers and subjects that they don't choose. Let's take their desire to learn and teach them whatever it is that they want to learn. And if they miss something like higher level math or some aspect of history, you know what? At least we didn't crush their desire to learn, so that now, they're still on that learning path. And if they decide later on after high school, well, I need to learn some math or I need to learn some history that they didn't get in high school because they were busy learning how to fix a car or cook a meal or buy and sell stocks or whatever it is that they wanted to learn. Maybe they spent 8 hours the whole day in the music room for a year making music. At least we didn't crush their desire to learn. And so as an adult, if they want to learn math or history, they still can. And they have a fond memory of teaching and learning. So let me know what you think. I call it non-consensual education. I think it sucks. I don't think it works. And currently, the funding system that the federal government in the United States has would never allow my consensual education style, because all funding is tied to teaching core subjects to core standards, and that each student has a certain number of classroom hours in the core subjects. So let me know what you think, and more about education to come. I have a lot of thoughts about education, so I'd love to hear some of yours in the comments. Have a nice day.